Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment of Health Professional Radio. We'll be speaking with Dr. Purvi Parikh in this segment, renowned allergist at NYU Langone Health. She's joining us to talk about the launch of Allegra's new first-of-its-kind map called Allegra Airways that guides users to their destinations with real-time, cleaner air commuting routes and the best routes to avoid. It's like a Waze traffic app, but for clean route commuting. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Purvi Parikh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are an allergist at NYU. You are an allergist, so I guess air pollution would really be top of mind for you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, as an allergist, I treat, people who have allergies. There's about 50 million sufferers in the U.S. And of those, about half have asthma. And many people don't realize that allergies and asthma are very closely related. And air quality plays a big role in both conditions because poor air quality can make both your allergies and asthma worse. So, when the Allegra team had approached me recently, it seemed, like a no-brainer, a very natural connection because this technology, AMBI technology, fits perfectly into what they're looking to do. And I had so many patients, especially since I practiced in New York City, after those poor air quality days in New York back in June that were really struggling, and they were looking for tips and resources to how to avoid things like this occurring in the future. And as climate change is very real and, wildfire smoke and gases are going to become more and more common, I think this makes a lot of sense. And this is, real-time data. People can have it in their hands. And it can help just be another tool to empower themselves, especially if there's someone who suffers from allergies or asthma or other lung conditions where air quality makes a big difference.
I remember smog. They would show you they would show you a cityscape completely covered in this smog, the smoke and fog, well, basically air pollution. And it would seem like everywhere you went in that city from that aerial photo, you weren't going to be able to get away from this air pollution. How does Allegra Airways guide a person to their destination in that type of environment? How do you get around that type of air pollution that's inundating an entire city?
Right. And sometimes it can be unavoidable, but the way that the AMBI technology works is that it uses real-time data and kind of navigates not just air pollution, but also pollen concentrations along our daily routes, kind of from your start to end destination. And it basically populates the lowest pollution route based on the air quality index and pollen. So people don't realize this time of year there's a lot of ragweed pollen in the air, which is a big fall pollen that can trigger a respiratory problem. So even if your air quality is good on a given day, the ragweed might be an issue, So it's nice that this app kind of takes both things into account. And then springtime also is our other peak pollen season where we see, tree pollen, grass pollen in the air. So it's very helpful. And this way, people can find the cleanest route. I mean, you're right. Sometimes it is unavoidable when you're kind of have one of those emergency type situations where the whole city is engulfed, right? But at least this empowers you that if there is a slightly safer option or slightly safer way to get from point A to point B, you are now empowered to find it, and again, you can populate that route right into your Google Maps or Apple Maps and get to where you need to go safely.
Is it similar to a weather report? Is that how this app updates? Is it maybe every 2 hours, every 4 hours, or is it in real time constantly as things change as far as the pollen levels and the air quality?
Right. So it is real time, so it does give, which is nice because often weather apps or even the pollen tracker apps, right, they'll give you a forecast for the day, which is an estimate. So they'll say pollen levels are high today, or, this is what's forecasted air quality wise, but you don't often get those real time updates. So things can change, from 9 a.m. to noon to your commute home, right, in the evening. So that's the nice thing that you do get those up to date alerts. And then it's helpful, especially for allergy and asthma sufferers, because many will then, need to take certain medications or certain precautions or treatments or wear a mask, for example, if they know it's a high pollen day, or if they know it's a day where the air quality is compromised, so then they know, okay, I can't leave home without these things. So that way they have, less risk of getting an asthma attack or their allergies flaring up.
What information should a user expect to receive once they access the app? Is it going to say pollen alert or ragweed alert or smoke particles? And will it show you all the routes and you get to pick one?
Yeah, so it does give you all of the, particulates that are in the air from all the things that you mentioned, the air quality, the pollution levels, as well as pollens and what allergens are in the air and prevalent in high and low concentrations. And then it will then calculate the best route, which has the least amount of these triggers, both from a pollution and pollen and other allergen standpoint, so that you can pick that route and go that way. So you'll have options, but of course you'll want to try to take the route that is the cleanest air quality, if that makes sense.
Is this compatible with any device?
So it's most easily usable on a cell phone, such as an iPhone or an Android. And it makes the most sense to use it that way because that's the most portable thing all of us have. None of us, we're unfortunately attached to them. None of us leave home without it. We have it at work. We have it on our commute to and from work. So it's kind of the easiest way, to use the app. The nice thing, too, is it can help parents, because the allergies and asthma are on the rise. So we have so many children and teenagers that suffer as well. So parents can even teach their older children how to use the app and when to take their controller medication and, how to get home safely and wear the masks as well.
Is there anything that you'd like to add for our listeners concerning the app? And then give us a website where we can learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the main thing that I would say is, this is just one of many tools that you should be using to make sure that your allergies and asthma are under control. You should, of course, also be working with your physician, an allergist or pulmonologist or your primary care doctor to make sure you're on the right preventative and controller medicines and you have a plan in place for all of my patients have something called an asthma action plan. So they know what to do if there is a flare up, when to seek help, when to contact me, and whatnot, And again, this is just one of many tools. We also encourage, wearing a mask on the poor air quality days, especially when you're outside. And there's certain days where the air might be so bad that you want to limit being outdoors at all, So like you said, when it's kind of that high alert smog days where it's kind of engulfing the city. But for more information about the app, you can visit www.allegra.com /Airways. And there's plenty of information. And, the plan is to have this app out nationally in 2024. So it's coming soon.
Great. Dr. Parikh, I thank you so much for joining us here on Health Professional Radio, and I'm looking forward to seeing this app in the App Store.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dr. Purvi Parikh. Audio copies of this program are available at healthprofessionalradio.com.au, also at Anchor, Spotify, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Health Professional Radio.